News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Roof Rescue. Still very poor driving conditions in parts of northern Utah, especially in Logan Canyon around the summit. We understand that road is still closed from Beaver Mountain to Bear Lake. It has reopened at times, then they had to reclose it because of the very wintry conditions there along US 89. Some vehicles have slid off the road, others have gotten stuck. So that is the situation on US 89. Again, from Beaver Mountain to Bear Lake, that road is currently closed. This January, United Way of Cache Valley is seeking volunteers 55 and older for training and volunteer time to help others overcome anxiety, depression, even suicide ideation. On KVNU's For the People program on Monday, Tina Brundage, Community Resource and Program Director, told us more about this program.
The United Way of Cache Valley has recently teamed up with AmeriCorps Seniors and received a federal grant to help kick this program off. So we're just getting it up and running.
She said they are currently recruiting and they have community partners with them for this program, such as the Family Place Utah, who is looking for some help from their volunteers, as well as the Cache County School District. Brundage said the older volunteers benefit as well as those they are assisting.
Correct, yes. I think they benefit as much, if not more, than the people that we're serving, because it does get them out. And our program, being a federal grant, they have a lot of stipulations that we need to meet, which I think are great. They require that we do a monthly training with the senior volunteers and a monthly appreciation breakfast.
Brundage said the volunteers are not only going out and helping the community, being able to give back and getting the benefit and reward for that, but they also get together so they can socialize with the other volunteers. She said those who are in that 55 and older age group can volunteer and get more information at unitedwayofcachevalley.org. Plus, there are other ways to volunteer without the age stipulation in other programs through the United Way. KVNU News Time is 4:07. KVNU weather for tonight. Chance of some snow this evening, although snow is kind of held off here this afternoon, at least in the valley, but of course a much different weather picture in the mountains of northern Utah. But still a 30% chance of snow this evening, then partly cloudy after midnight. Low near zero, and northwest winds 15 to 25 miles an hour. And wind chill warning is in effect. Temperatures will feel like minus 20 with the wind chill overnight and into early on Thursday. It's not going to be very warm on Thursday, partly cloudy, and the high temperature only around 15. We've been 42 today. Right now it's 37 at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Adams Wealth Advisors. They put clients first under any circumstance. You'll receive peace of mind with Adams Wealth Advisors. Schedule a time with an advisor today. Call 752-1702 or visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
This is David from Roof Rescue. A roof is not something most people think about until they notice a leak on the ceiling. This time of year, fluctuation in temperatures, along with rain, snow, and ice, can do a number on your roof. If you notice these leaks, they won't go away on their own and are oftentimes a sign that the roof has reached the beginning of the end of its life. Call Roof Rescue for a free analysis, diagnosis, and estimate. Let's fix those leaks and keep you dry this winter. Call 435-999-4268 or visit roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU News Time is 4:09. Salt Lake Mayor Aaron Mendenhall confirmed 5 unsheltered people have died in the cold over the span of 5 days in Salt Lake City. The first death of an unsheltered person was reported to have occurred on December 15th. One man was found in a tent, and another couple died right in front of one of the new homeless resource centers. Their identities have not yet been released. KUTV reports the medical examiner's office was working to determine official causes of death. Volunteers and other nonprofit members have been working to raise awareness that people are dying in the extreme cold. Wayne Niederhauser, the state's homeless coordinator, said that people's lives are being lost because the system is not working. Right now, their resource centers are running at capacity, and they need additional shelter response. Lauri Markkanen scored 38 points, including a career-high 9 3-pointers, and the Utah Jazz defeated the Detroit Pistons last night, 126-111. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Breaking news. Stimulating talk is what we do. KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
This is Dr. Red, chiropractic physician with Red River Health and Wellness. Have you been suffering and you can't find any answers?
I actually suffer from depression and anxiety. I also have had severe IBS problems. I actually had gone into a different doctor of mine because I thought maybe I was starting to go through menopause and had problems sleeping, and I wasn't resting well, and just everything felt wrong.
Red River Health and Wellness can help.
I am now back at work. It's easy. I get through things effortlessly at work, and it's been a life-changing for me. I'm sleeping better at night. I have full energy all day. I don't have those slumps where I need a nap. It's been amazing. It's been a good journey for me.
Our goal is to teach you and educate you so you know how to manage your condition a lot more effectively, and you know what to do and what not to do for the rest of your life.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the getaway guru for Morris Columbus Travel and Royal Caribbean Cruise Line with the biggest cruise promotion of the year with huge discounts off your cruise fare and free amenities. Sail the 7 seas with Royal Caribbean and Morris Columbus Travel. And for the best travel deals on the planet, give us a call at Morris Columbus Travel.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have 2 guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. Wednesday, December 21st. I'm Jason Williams.
The longest day,
That's
or
right.
the shortest day of the year.
Yeah, shortest daylight, longest night of the year.
Longest night of the year.
Coming up this evening. Also, possibly one of the coldest nights of the year. I don't remember. I think it might be, actually. Did we hit single digits or close to zero in the late part of last winter, early part of this year? I don't think we did. So this
I don't think so.
This forecasted 1 degree overnight low may actually be the coldest night of the year. I hadn't thought of that, but it's definitely the longest night of the year, and that means that starting tomorrow, every day is roughly 30 seconds longer. Getting longer and longer and longer as we head out of winter into spring. So I love this time. It just reminds me that spring is around the corner. And
the only problem is you don't notice it right away in the evening. You notice it initially in the morning.
Yeah, it's definitely more noticeable in the morning. And then you do. It's for me, it's often like a switch is thrown. There's just this day where I realize, oh, wow, I'm leaving the radio show at 6 and it's still light. Right now, it's dark before we hit hour 2, so very excited for that to end. We've got a lot to talk about. Bills being unveiled by state lawmakers heading into the January kickoff of the 2023 legislative session, and there is, quite a bit. I'm particularly excited about one that is going to be controversial, unfortunately, mainly because it's going to be surrounded by a million other bills on the similar topic. It is an election-related bill from Representative Steve Eliasson, a Republican representative from the Salt Lake County area. And it is an election bill, but it's a good one. It's not based on any of these conspiracy theories or unprovable claims about the 2020 election. It's a bill based on accessibility and how and county clerks, I'm told, have been working with him on this bill to basically respond to everything they've heard over the years from people with disabilities, from people who have had their ballot tossed into the pile of unacceptable because of a lack of signature match. Did you know? I didn't know this, Bill. There is an actual disorder out there. It's similar to epilepsy, and it causes a person to sign their signature differently at different times, depending on what's going on. So people who have this disorder don't often have seizures. That's usually it's a cousin of epilepsy, but it doesn't cause seizures. But it does cause these completely random and oftentimes reversed. I don't know what the time frame is, whether this is day to day or week to week or month to month, because I know very little about this. I just heard about it today when reading about the bill. But it is a disorder that actually can cause things like that, where a person's signature is suddenly different one day, causes them problems on using credit cards or back when we used to use checks. But it can also cause a ballot to be declined.
Because they'll compare it with an earlier signature.
Yeah, that might be years old, and before a person was maybe even diagnosed with this. So it's a fascinating bill, honestly, and it covers a lot of ground. And it's basically attempting to standardize the process for ballot curing, which is already standardized for the most part, except the documentation. It's hard to document this kind of thing because you're dealing with a lot of private information. And so the state or election offices at the county clerk level can't post a list or have us here at CacheValleyDaily.com or on the airwaves here at KVNU broadcast or publish online a list of ballots that were rejected and the names on the ballots. That would be illegal and unethical and also dangerous for the individuals to put all that information online. So that causes a lack of transparency that is sort of required by the system for privacy and security of the vote and things like that. But what that means is that when it comes to the county clerk's offices, the ballot curing process, there are best practices in place, and every county clerk's office is trained on this by the state. It's obviously not a new thing. We've been voting by mail for 12 years now. So some good ways to cure ballots have been discovered and standardized throughout the state. And Representative Eliasson says it's time to write those into statute. It's time to take these best practices and say, here's what will happen when a ballot comes in and a signature doesn't match, or a ballot comes in and it's been placed in the wrong envelope, which technically voids your ballot, or a ballot comes in and that person has already cast a provisional ballot. A ballot comes in, but then that person later casts a provisional ballot. And there's processes in place where they reach out to voters and try their best to get a hold of them. This is the other part of the bill that I like. Right now, unless you volunteer an email address or a cell phone number, then it's oftentimes difficult for a county clerk's office to get a hold of you in time. They do have the ability, as any registered voter has to put their address down, so they can send you a letter saying, hey, your ballot was rejected because the signature didn't match or some other thing. You put it in the wrong envelope. A lot of things you can do to cause your ballot to be rejected. And they're easy mistakes to make, but at the same time, there have to be rules, right? And it would be also illegal for clerk staff during an election to just, guess. The signature looks close. It's likely this person. We have an idea of what they intended to do with their vote, even though the dots are all outside of the circles and couldn't be machine scanned. None of that is allowed. And so there have to be rules, and the rule has been set that if any of those things happen, the ballot is just instantly rejected. Your vote isn't counted. Then a process begins where they try their hardest to get a hold. I almost sneezed there, Bill, in the middle of a sentence.
That's better than coughing.
Something about wind, whether it's springtime or wintertime. Anyway, so they begin a ballot curing process where basically what they're trying to do is desperately, before it's too late, reach the voter. Now, they have up until, I believe it's 24 hours before the certification, which can come 2 weeks after the actual election day. So they have a decent window of time. And this is also why state elections officers and county clerks and anyone who's ever worked in elections office will tell you, mail your ballot early. Unless you have one race where you really can't decide, most people know what they plan to do with their vote. So mail your ballot early, because if there is a problem, you have a longer window of time, a wider window of time that they can reach out to you and fix your ballot before it's too late. So according to Eliasson, the primary problem he's trying to solve here it is in regards to election day voting, which is still huge in some parts of Utah. It's still a big deal for a lot of people throughout the state, but there are certain areas where people have, never, even before the Trump 2020 big lie, even before that, people just weren't warming to mail-in voting and wanted to cast a vote in person. I know some folks who do this. It's a tradition. They like the experience of going down to a polling location on election day and casting a ballot. They're fully aware that they're just turning in a mail ballot that could have been mailed weeks before. They know that, but they prefer the experience of going down and actually dropping the ballot off in person, handing it to a person, and primarily being there on election day. So I get it. But Eliasson says because of this, that's where most of the problems arise. Because so many ballots are cast on election day, those who that are rejected, they oftentimes they aren't able to get a hold of the voter in time, even if they know it's an easy fix, even if the signature is really close, but just not close enough. And there are rules for that too. I think it's like a 7-point kind of thing. Don't quote me on that, but there are a number of points of letters that have to match the signature on file, and if it falls below that threshold, then it's considered an invalid signature. And obviously this person who sent it in intended to vote. We know that they sent the ballot in or dropped it off or whatever, or cast a provisional ballot on election day. And then they try to get a hold of them, and they often can't. So Eliasson says that he wants to streamline this process. Obviously, on the back end, the work of the clerk's office, the work of the state elections office, not a lot can be done. The reason it's so slow and onerous is they're following other rules that are equally, if not more important, for election security. So that can't really be tweaked that much. But he said what can happen is they can streamline the process for the clerk's offices as far as reporting goes. They can create more ways to get a hold of voters. They can run something the state's never done. They could actually run a public education campaign on the value of making sure that with your voter registration, you provide an email address or a cell phone number, one that you actually use. That's another problem Eliasson cited this morning when he talked about this bill as it was unveiled. And again, this will be debated in committee and heard, if it makes it through committee, on the floor of the House and the Senate in the 2023 session, which kicks off end of January. Eliasson said that's one of the things they have never tried is actually just telling people, this is one of the reasons you want to make sure when you register or that you go in and update your registration to include a cell phone or email address so they can get a hold of you if there's a problem. The bill has been unveiled. I've linked to it on our Facebook page if you'd like to give it a look. And also, the odds of this bill passing, I'd say, are high. But again, unfortunately, it's going to be surrounded by other bills with less noble intent. And hopefully that doesn't kill this one. We'll be back right after this.
Hey everybody, John Weiss with Heritage Jeep. Well, we made it. 2022 is coming to an end, and to celebrate, we're going out with a bang at the Jeep 2022 Big Finish event. Don't miss your last chance to score a great deal on one of the legendary Jeep vehicles, like $3,500 cash allowance on one of the toughest and most versatile Jeep vehicles yet, the rugged 2022 Jeep Gladiator. Visit us at heritageeprice.com or come visit us in Brigham City, Tremont, or Logan. Heritage Jeep, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. A mattress store recently closed right next door to our Riverdale location. Most people have said how awesome that is for us. I think I disagree. At My Mattress, we love competition. We love it if you shop other places, but also give us a shot. Shop online or go to other stores, maybe even a warehouse sale, but come into My Mattress because we want our shot at winning your business. Come into My Mattress right now and see if better sleep and better pricing are what you'll find.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. Covenant House is the national leader providing safe housing for youth, 50 years strong. Every youth who walks into Covenant House gets clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. So, look closer at Covenant House and help us fight youth homelessness. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Kicking off the show today talking about a good election bill that I hope doesn't die because it's surrounded by bad election bills that are based on, as I said yesterday, there are a number of bills and lawmakers, unfortunately, every legislative session. Those lawmakers have aspirations, meaning they plan one day to run for Senate or even governor. And talking to you, Senator Dan McKay, anytime you see Senator Dan McKay's name, he's basically made it known this is something he'd like to do. He was talked out of it. He wanted to do it last go-round, and everybody said, I think Romney's going to run, and you won't beat him in a primary. So he didn't. But he still plans to when there's an opening, and that's why you see a lot of message bills from Senator Dan McKay. There are others as well, and unfortunately they are going to be sponsoring a lot of election bills based on the big lie and other conspiracy theories. But Republican lawmaker Steve Eliason has a great bill that I'm hoping survives committee and floor debate because it though it's not geared entirely at providing more options for those with disabilities, it is streamlining and standardizing one part of our elections process, which is the curing process. This is what happens or what begins after a ballot is rejected because a signature doesn't match. There's been an error in how it's filled out that allows it makes it so they can't legally count it as a vote. Sometimes even just the way you send it in can cause a ballot to be invalidated by state law. Clerks don't get to decide this thing. They're basically following very, very clearly spelled out statute on elections. But there is some leeway when it comes to the curing process, and Eliasson says he wants to standardize it. He wants to make sure equal effort in every county clerk's office is being put into the curing process, getting a hold of voters to let them know their ballot was rejected and giving them a chance to fix it. But he says the problem is they can only do so much with the resources they have, so more money might be needed during elections at least, and also more staffing. And he said the public needs to be educated on a lot of this. One of the biggest problems, he said, especially when it comes to same-day voting, people who go in on election day to drop off a ballot or register and fill out a provisional ballot or whatever it is, he said a lot of them refuse to provide contact information, and so there's no way other than mailing a letter that the county clerk's office can let them know. If the person gets that letter and doesn't respond in time, certification has happened, it's too late. So he wants to streamline this, and it will also provide more options for those with disabilities who oftentimes need a little extra when it comes to the curing process. Like, again, Eliasson cites this disease that actually a few thousand people here in Utah have, which causes a person, it's a cousin of epilepsy, doesn't cause seizures, but it causes rapid, sudden, and then reversible after some time changes to the brain, which can mean a person's signature might not match from Tuesday into Wednesday. And he said that he believes has led to hundreds of rejected ballots. So he wants to streamline this and reduce the number of ballots that don't get counted because they were rejected for one reason or another, giving the curing process a boost, he said. I've linked to the bill on our Facebook page. What do you think? 753-5868. I predict this will be controversial because it's going to be perceived by some, I think, as a privacy issue. Because the state is, like Eliasson suggested, a public education campaign to get people to include their cell phone number and email address with their registration, something a lot of Utahns don't want to do. But he said that's the best way for the clerk's office to get a hold of you if your ballot's rejected. So I predict this will be an interesting debate, but I love the bill. I love the idea. What do you think? Mitch on the line. Mitch, your thoughts?
Yeah, so the main reason that I know of that people don't like giving their phone number on that
Sure.
is because, well, let's see, I was getting 17 different texts a day from super PACs and stuff trying to contact me, even though my phone's on the do not contact list.
Oh, yeah.
Because they put an exception in that for political.
That's
bullshit.
Unfortunately,
I don't got a good word for it.
Well, unfortunately, you have the Salt Lake County Republican Party to thank for that. They actually got in some hot water with the state for this, but they county parties, state parties, even campaigns, political campaigns for a specific candidate can buy the voter rolls, and a lot of personal information is scrubbed, but not everything, like addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, and things like that. And they can buy them legally, and almost any state does this. Utah needs to tighten it up a little bit, though, I think. But what happened, if you yourself, like Mitch, got a lot more texts this year than you expected, what happened is in 2018, Salt Lake County Republican Party bought one of these lists. And then in 2020, when all the election conspiracy stuff was happening, the chair at the time, he's since been fired from the job by county Republicans in Salt Lake County, but the chair at the time shared the list with this group, this legal firm that was going to sue to overturn the results of the election, and then they sold it. So thanks to Chris Knoll and the Salt Lake County Republican Party for that. But I, like you, Mitch, got more texts this year than I've ever seen before from PACs, and I get it. Do you, if you don't mind me asking, Mitch, do you list any of that information on your own personal registration?
I put my cell phone so I can resolve it if there's a problem. I have horrible handwriting, so the odds of my signature not matching is actually higher than average anyway.
Oh, sure. Makes sense.
So
that's.
I mean, they need to do something to make it so that phone number provided is restricted to only for that, so then people can feel safer for it.
Yeah.
I think that would take a lot of the bite right out of people fighting back, and then public education is definitely a big part of it. And on the other half of that, you talk about how we have all those virtue signaling bills. I really wish we could do something where the legislature started censoring members that put a bill forward that they know is illegal and is just a signal, and make it so they can't do that anymore, because I'm kind of tired of that crap, because it just wastes everyone's time.
Sure.
I'm more inclined to vote against somebody who's putting crap like that out, no matter what it is. Even if it's a cause I 100% believe in, the fact that they're doing it that way should be censured.
Yeah, that's and both of the major parties, I think, need a little self-reflection right now on this. The texts that say things like urgent, emergency, or emails that say things like, you are delinquent on your support. I got one of those this year for the first time ever. I've heard about them, but it was from a political committee, an official party political committee here in Utah, and it said, or nationally, but it was fundraising for Utah Republicans, and it said, you are, it basically looked like an outstanding bill. It was in red even, but it was just a donation solicitation, and I think that they're crossing a line on those fronts, and so I get it. It makes you not want to share information, right?
Who approves that bad of design, sir? So that's a whole other conversation.
I don't know. It was bad.
The thing with it is, I've said this, I've always said this, I will always stand behind this. We need to hold our own party that we're part of accountable. Everyone's like, well, why doesn't the other party fix it? Well, why don't we fix our own party and not worry about the other party? Make ourselves take the high road.
Yeah.
Let's look better by comparison. We talk about how fast people are leaving the Utah Republican Party. Well, that's because we don't look very good sometimes.
Well,
why don't we fix that?
I think that's the unfortunate thing is neither major party wants to go first because they're afraid that will hold them back in the next election cycle, and so it just keeps getting worse and worse. But, I think this is where states can come in and say, and like you, Mitch, I hope Utah does this, and in fact, I hope Eliasson is considering this as a conjoined effort with his bill, because I love where his bill's going, but because that always made me feel bad that someone intends to vote, they take the time to mail their ballot in or drop it off, but they just sign weird that day or whatever it is, and then they're
act it up.
Yeah, and then their ballots avoided or rejected, and then they never hear about that, and that always it's so easy to avoid. So I love where Eliasson's going with this, but I hope he considers at least tacking something on, or a companion bill that says, okay, the state's going to be more careful about what they allow those who want to purchase voter rolls for campaigning purposes can buy. And maybe
I think we just ban them from buying the voter rolls, but hey.
Yeah, some states have done that. Some states actually say, you can't purchase the actual registered voter rolls.
I challenge you to come up with a legitimate, valid, non-privacy invasion reason why anybody needs access to voter rolls.
Oh, there isn't one. It's all fundraising. That's the only reason they pay for it. Mitch, always great to hear from you. Appreciate the call. Others out there, if you'd like to join us, 753-5868. First, though, a look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:37. This look at the news brought to you by Logan Dental Associates. The U.S. Department of Labor has found 11 Crumble cookie stores have violated child labor laws. Officials said regulations were violated in 6 states and affected 46 minor-aged employees. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, many of the minors were 14 and 15 years old. The Utah-based company was founded in 2017 and operates over 600 locations in 47 states: Utah, California, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Tennessee, and Washington were the states where the stores were located that the U.S. Department of Labor said violated regulations. They said violations ranged from employing some minor-aged employees to work longer and later than the time that the law allows, to assigning others to operate potentially dangerous ovens and machinery. The division assessed $57,854 in penalties to resolve the child labor violations. 4 of the 11 stores in the investigation were located in Utah, specifically in Bountiful, Centerville, Layton, and Ogden. The store in Bountiful was given the highest penalty at $7,423. While many Utahns are getting into the giving spirit, there are people out there who are taking advantage of others during the holiday season. The Better Business Bureau is warning people about texts and emails scammers are sending, pretending to be the U.S. Postal Service, asking for $3 to have a package redelivered. This is the time of year when the Bureau sees the most scams, according to spokeswoman Britta Clark. She said if you do happen to click a link, it takes you to a website that looks exactly like USPS, and it says they have to charge you in order to have your item redelivered. She said, do not do it. It's a scam. USPS will never charge for a redelivery. And sheriff's deputies and their loved ones made their final appeal Tuesday night before the Sanpete County Commission, begging the elected commissioners to raise their salaries or else they'll have to leave. Sheriff Jared Buchanan said a lot of his deputies left because the pay cannot compete with other counties. 65 officers have left since 2011, with 40% of them leaving within the last 3 years. Buchanan said right now only 2 deputies can patrol the entire county, measuring more than 1,600 square miles per shift. The sheriff is willing to give up an open detective position and vehicle replacements to increase the salaries for deputies, dispatchers, and those who work in the jail. The county commissioners decided to increase pay by $5 for deputies in their first 10 years, then raise it $3 for those who are more experienced. At the meeting, they agreed to review and discuss the sheriff's proposed salaries by February 1st. Commissioner Scott Bartholomew said they will look at it, but no promises. Bartholomew said he's never seen such divide inside the courthouse. KVNU News Time is 4:41.
So many times at the end of the year we hear, wow, had I known I would have come in sooner. Anyway, can we get it done before the end of the year? Hi, it's Dr. Brandon Preby from Logan Dental Associates and Cherry Creek Dental in Richmond. We want to help you utilize your benefits and get the best care possible without pain or discomfort and make it affordable. Often insurance or health savings is part of that plan. Please call today for your appointment with Dr. Taylor, Larson, Harris, or Preby. Let's get you the care you need before the end of the year. Cherry Creek Dental in Richmond or Logan Dental Associates in Logan.
KVNU weather, we do have a wind chill warning in effect for from about 8 o'clock this evening to 11 o'clock Thursday morning for dangerously cold wind chills. Wind chills as low as 15 below zero. This is in effect for eastern Box Elder County and the Utah portion of the Cache Valley. Also a winter weather advisory for the next couple of hours till 7 o'clock tonight. Our forecast looking at snow this evening, 30% chance, and then partly cloudy after midnight, much colder. Lows around 5 below, and northwest winds 15 to 25 miles an hour. Partly cloudy, much colder, high around 15 on Thursday, and then a 30% chance of snow Friday, high temperature in the upper 20s. It's been to 41. Right now it's 36 at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by U&I Furniture. They have a big selection. The store is full of holiday specials. U&I's most popular bed is a therapeutic serene queen-size mattress with zone coil system and a comfy stretch knit top, only $399. Always a better buy at U&I, downtown Logan, 28 West, 1st North. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Senior Branch Office Administrator Monique Benson bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of financial advisor Daryl Arnell and Edward Jones. Investor sentiment brightened on Wednesday and equity markets rallied, helped by the upbeat corporate commentary and an improvement in consumer confidence. Shares of Nike jumped more than 10% after the company reported earnings that exceeded analyst estimates. Shares of FedEx rose 3% after beating earnings estimates as well, with the focus on cost cutting. Elsewhere, government bond yields were little changed after rising yesterday following the Bank of Japan's surprise decision to raise the upper limit of its 10-year bond. The Dow closed up 527 points at 33,376. The Nasdaq closed up 162 points at 10,709, and the S&P 500 closed up 57 points at 3,878. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot was up $4.52 to $319.36. Lowe's Company was up $8.57 to $202.43. Nucor was up $3.48 to $137.45. Thermo Fisher was up $11.39 to $539.89, and Northrop Grumman was up $9.22 to $538.79. In commodity markets, the price of crude oil was up $2.23 to $78.46, and the spot price of gold was down $1.10 to $1,824.30. This has been today's financial market report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
For 125 years, S.C. Needham Jewelers has been known for quality jewelry at affordable prices. We have a beautiful selection of diamond jewelry, birthstone jewelry, gold and silver, pearls, and mother's rings. Show your fine taste with a beautifully wrapped gift. Prices start in $29. This year we were voted as #1 jeweler in the best of Northern Utah. Come enjoy our festive atmosphere and select a beautiful piece of jewelry this Christmas. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. S.C. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
I'm Amy, and we have been coming up here for years. We love the Sportsman. We love the small town feel, great service, all the great quality of merchandise. It's been our tradition, and we love it and look forward to it every year. They do have other brands that are hard to find in Salt Lake. I see merchandise up here that I don't see down in Salt Lake. The Sportsman, there's nothing like it.
Welcome, friend. Nice to see you again at the Sportsman.
On Main Street in the heart of downtown Logan with tons of free parking in the back.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Thanks again to Mitch for the call. We also had another listener chime in saying, I wish lawmakers would just stop fiddling with election law. I get that, and I get the frustration with that from some, because it's just this trendy political thing to do right now, when, not really about solving problems. But here's why I like it, this bill. It's improving things, and it's not this bill from Representative Eliason, a Salt Lake County Republican. He isn't running this because of the current political fad on election laws and this supposed stolen election. He's running it because clerks basically have told him that they feel like a lot of votes are slipping through the cracks because they can't cure them. If a signature is rejected or something else goes wrong with the ballot, they can't fix that because they can't get a hold of the voter in time or at all. And so Eliason is hoping to fix that part of the process, because again, it always made me feel bad if someone decides not to vote. Never going to guilt anyone about that. It's some people don't for religious objection reasons. Some people don't because they just are frustrated and burnt out or cynical. Some people don't because they don't care. Maybe they look at the candidates and think, I can't see a difference here. I know a lot of people who don't vote in Utah because, well, the Republican's going to win. So a lot of people feel, what's the point? And I get that too. So I would never guilt anyone, but I'm talking about a situation where someone wants to vote. They've obviously taken the time to, and then their vote doesn't count, and they never hear about that. Even though there was a way for them to fix it so their vote would count. That's what Eliason's trying to fix here. So, a listener chiming in again saying, I wish they'd stop playing with election laws entirely. And yeah, I get that. But this is a good one, I think. Unfortunately, again, I think it might die a quick death because there are a lot of other election-related bills that are based on lawmakers with higher office aspirations, and so they're running some political bills to get attention. And so you might see the committee say, nope, we're not doing any election laws this year. That's oftentimes how leadership committees will send the message to the rank and file caucus that, no, stop bringing this up. We're done with this. So hopefully that isn't what happens and this bill gets a hearing, but we'll see. All right. We'll take our last break, and on the other side, instead of starting the hour with it, we got a little distracted, which I love it when our listeners distract us. But on the other side, we'll bring the temperature down with your headlines and smooth jazz right after this.
Dr. Josh Redd, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
A lot of our patients end up having autoimmune conditions. This is where their immune system, rather than attacking bacteria, a virus, or other bad things, it starts to attack their own tissue. This can cause so many different issues and symptoms throughout the whole body. The biggest thing for us at Red River is to identify what's causing the autoimmune response to flare up. This could be intestinal problems, blood sugar imbalances, cortisol defects, hormonal imbalances, along with something as simple as dietary triggers and environmental triggers. One of the most common causes, too, when you have an autoimmune condition is you'll have inflammation throughout the whole body. Not every patient will have the same imbalances or the same triggers, and so we have to customize a very personalized treatment plan in order for these patients to feel better.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
As we live longer, age really is just a number, but retirement is so much more than one. Edward Jones wants to know what you want out of retirement. Working together, you can look at the big picture and make a strategy to help you reach your goal. Because you can't prepare for the unexpected if you don't know where you're headed. Call one of the 7 branch locations in Cache Valley or go to edwardjones.com to get started today. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You're in the market to buy a home and dreaming of a new home you can fill with new memories. But homes just aren't in your budget. Or are they? Visionary Homes wants you to know you don't have to buy a used home. Buy new. Buy now with Visionary Homes. As a trusted award-winning Utah home builder, Visionary Homes understands that your home is the center of your life, bringing friends and family together, creating memories you'll cherish forever. Buy new. Buy now. VisionaryHomes.com.
Visionary Homes.
It's a musical tradition. Chip Davis, the founder and musical director of Mannheim Steamroller, presents a coast-to-coast broadcast of Mannheim Steamrollers An American Christmas.
Hi, this is Chip Davis. Join us Christmas Day for all the warmth, music, and happiness of an old-fashioned American Christmas.
I taught for 20 years, until I started forgetting my lectures.
Eventually, he had to quit. Getting his early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard, but it gave us time to take control of the situation, together.
I can't imagine going through this without him.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends, look closer. Right in your community, there are youth who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So, look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. Covenant House is the national leader providing safe housing for youth, 50 years strong. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. Every youth who walks into Covenant House gets clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So, look closer at Covenant House and help us fight youth homelessness. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. We normally kick the show off with this, but we got a little distracted talking about legislation, so we're going to wrap up Hour 1 as we transition into our spotlight on North Logan City with North Logan Mayor Lindsay Peterson in the studio here, kicking off Hour 2 of today's show. Wrapping up Hour 1 with our contribution to lowering the temperature out there, reducing the anxiety, and generally just making everyone feel great. It's your headlines with smooth jazz. I worry sometimes, Bill, that this is having the opposite effect. But at least it's not for like freeform jazz with the scat and the, scat.
Jean-Luc Ponty.
Yeah, it's relaxing jazz. So Governor Cox got some criticism, I would call it, for an announcement late last week that he would be issuing an executive order, now in place, banning the use of the TikTok app on all state-owned devices, computers, laptops, tablets, phones, and more. Only state-owned. Obviously, you can't ban it for use in the state of Utah. And he cited the fact that this is a TikTok is owned by a Chinese company, and they've been less than forthcoming about the data they collect on a user's phone and what they're using it for. And I'll tell you, as someone who has the app installed on his phone, it collects a lot of data. But the Zoomers are hilarious, and I'm not uninstalling it. But I get the governor's concern. With that in mind, several other governors have also done this. It's not an R or a D thing. It's been blue states and red states, and the federal government is considering doing the same thing on federal devices. Tech gurus and wizards and smarter people about nerd stuff than I am weighed in on this recent rash of headlines from governors around the country and said, to be honest with you, it's both a futile effort, meaning, if everyone else in your state under the age of 30 has it on their phone and a state employee walks past them, if it's doing anything nefarious, they've still got the state employee's data from the device, which is true. That's how some of this works if, there is a back door or something like that. On the other hand, experts say this is probably smart of governors and the federal government to consider this type of thing because, one, it sends the message that companies, even if they get insanely popular because they happen to launch just a month before a pandemic, which is really what put TikTok on the map, and it's hung on to a top position since then, it's probably a good idea to send the message that, you can't just, in this day and age, collect data and refuse to be transparent about it. Facebook's learned that lesson many times over, and so sending the warning through this type of executive order or even federal legislation, experts agree, is probably a smart idea. So thumbs up for Governor Cox. Senator Romney today said he is considering a 2024 Senate run. That would be a run for re-election for him. And he said, I'm convinced that if I do run, I win. And I would guess he's right. But he wouldn't say for sure when pressed by interviewers at Political Magazine, where he was sitting down to talk to them about some other things. He wouldn't say. And finally, third time they asked, he said, I haven't made a decision, finally. And I probably won't do that anytime soon. When asked a fourth time, Romney said, basically, paraphrasing here, I'm busy. There's a lot going on. So frankly, re-election isn't a question in my mind right now. I've faced long odds. Getting the nomination in 2012 itself was a long shot. Becoming a Republican governor in one of the most liberal states in America, Massachusetts, was a long shot. So I'm convinced that if I run, I'll win, but I'll make that decision at a more appropriate time. And then just kind of stared at the reporter. See the video. It's actually really funny. And finally, Salt Lake Tribune reporting on something, I've never heard it called this before, but it's something that is called zombie oil fields. Data in the state shows that there are thousands, maybe tens of thousands of oil wells and potential oil wells that are just sitting dormant here in the state of Utah, purchased by a company that, well, a lot of things can happen. They either just stopped using or abandoned without capping a cost to taxpayers. We have to pick up the bill on that. Or in some cases, documents show went bankrupt. What this means is that they still own the lease. It won't be sold to someone else until they part with that lease, but the wells are not being used. Hundreds are just within a 35-mile radius of the city of Vernal itself, but tens of thousands are expected to exist according to lease maps, in contrast with active lease reports, sitting completely unused throughout the state of Utah. The big question is, what could be done about this? One state lawmaker, when asked by the Tribune for this story if the state could get involved, said, no, actually. There's not much we can do to force a lease owner to use the potential wells or the potential oil in the ground. If they decide to sit on it, well, they're the ones paying for the lease. Tens of thousands. Check it out. Story linked on our Facebook page. Hour 2 of today's show, and North Logan Mayor Lindsey Peterson right after this here on KVNU Logan.